Hi, everyone. I have a guest with me that's going to share about her experience of being 15 years in MLM, and she's walked away. And she contacted me on Instagram, and this is her story. Jen, take it away. Introduce yourself and take it away.
Hey guys, how are you? My name is Jennifer Mruk. I was in the MLM space for 15 years, guys, a long time. I actually got started in MLM very, very young. I was 18. I was struggling for money. And, somebody said like, hey, we can help you. And I feel like we hear this a lot in MLM. It's people that are like in distress and they're just so desperate for money that they'll pretty much say yes to any opportunity that comes their way. And I think that goes a lot to say about the opportunistic sort of thing that happens inside of MLM, right? And really going out of their way to target people that are desperately in need and willing to get that yes, right? It's so much that they teach us. So I was in MLM for 15 years. I went through all different phases of my MLM career. I had a point in which I was with Cutco Knives, if you guys remember who they were. It was like cold calling out of a phone book, going door to door, things like that. I eventually transitioned into Herbalife, which was like run the shake shop, run this free event, pay to go to this meeting, right? It was a lot of outside of the house activity. End of 2016, I transitioned into the online space. I saw a girl doing her makeup with a baby on her lap. I was pregnant with my third, and I was like, oh, I can actually work from home. And I went into Unique. Guys, if you have any questions about these companies, you can feel free to post them below. And me and Julie can kind of go back to that another time, but I really just want to give you an overview and why I decided to leave MLM and what I'm doing now. So went from Herbalife to Unique, did that for 4 years. I was at Pharmacy for a very short stint. That is like a health, wellness, beauty company. And then I was with Ariel, which is a much smaller company. And they have just been a complete crap show lately, to put it very lightly. I know Julie has covered them recently because there's been so much that has been exposed inside of that company. I was with them for 2.5 years. And when I tell you the Kool-Aid was deep there, guys, I was so sucked into, like, my entire identity was that company. Like, I ate, breathed, and slept that company. I wore the gear every day. Like, people knew how much I loved that company. And I think when I moved away from that and how I was treated after the fact was what really shook me. And you'll hear this a lot in MLM, is a lot of people don't walk away until something very dramatic happens, right? A company shuts down. They just get really crapped on by the company, and that makes them decide to wake up and walk away. They get sued by the company. I have friends that are now in a possible lawsuit with my previous company. Something dramatic has to happen to really shake their perspective, to wake them up, right? And the reason that is because when you're so thick inside of MLM, you're taught that this is the best way. This is the only true work from home. This is the only way to make really good money. And they throw all these stats, right, and numbers at you, and they really fluff it up to make it sound like it is the best thing ever. And I'm going to tell you, there's a whole world outside of MLM that I promise you is bigger and better than brighter than anything you can get inside of MLM. So after I parted ways with Ariel, it got very ugly very fast. There was a lot of, you can't talk to this person. Even people that I've had in my network for, you got to figure it's been 15 plus years, right? A lot of these people have known me for a long time, and they still were trying to like claim them, right? We hear this a lot in MLM. You can't talk to that person. And I'm like, that is my personal friend. Like, you do not own my contact list. So there's a lot of ugly back and forth. There was mean girling online, which is very common in the MLM space. I'm going to cut you out of this picture and crop you out and post you. And a lot of, we're going to tell stories about you and turn all your close friends against you, because we learn very often that these friendships are pretty conditional. If you're not in the same company, you typically aren't friends with that person anymore. It's a sad truth. So I went through a lot. when I left there. And, you know, I did try 2 other companies. I tried one company called Super Patch, which is like a patch technology wear on your arm. And I tried another company called Beyond Slim, which is another nutrition company. But the reason I always say that Ariel was my last was because when I tried to go to other companies, I was just seeing the red flags everywhere, right? I saw that the culture was the same, the behavior was the same, the control tactics were the same, the spammy messages and how we're going to approach people were the same, the never really giving you a direct answer to your questions was the same, right? The we own you, we own your network, we own your social media was the same. So once I left Ariel, it was like the goggles were off and I just kept seeing red flags no matter what company I went to. So middle of May 2025, I decided to fully step outside of MLM. And I think that was a combination of, again, seeing the red flags, but 2, it was having my awareness with people like Julie and other creators that were speaking out. I no longer saw them as like these crazy anti-MLM people. Like they're so against us. They're the haters. I like Julie's favorite term. The haters are coming to get us, right? I saw them as people that had been in the same space as me, saw the red flags, learned the hard lessons, and were trying to show me that there were some things that weren't adding up. So once I started to apply logic, right, to the MLM space, I was like, wait a second, this actually doesn't make any sense, right? And, you know, we constantly hear, oh my God, Juice Plus, God bless their hearts. They put out this video that was like, we're not a pyramid scheme, ha ha ha. And
is Juice Plus a pyramid scheme? No, it is not a pyramid scheme. It is not a scam.
Is Juice Plus a pyramid scheme? 100% not.
Absolutely not.
No, no, it's not.
No, it is not.
Is Juice Plus a pyramid scheme? Well, actually, pyramid schemes were made illegal in the 70s, I believe. So no, it's absolutely not. If it was a scam, we would have been found out a long time ago.
It's a beautiful company where we get paid on the impact that we make in the lives of other people, which I think is the most incredible pay it forward company.
you're like laughing about it and you're like, okay, but logistically, are we going to talk about why you're not a pyramid scheme or are you just going to say it? And you get that same sort of hogwash run around in circles at every single company when you start to ask them about like how many people are earning over $500 a month here, how many people are earning more than they're spending, right? Like what are the statistics? And then when you look at the statistics, you're like, 97% or more are not earning more than what they're spending. Like that sounds like a scam to me. I don't know, you know, I'm just like, and then we circle back to where they're like, well, your job is a scam because it's built like a pyramid. And I'm like, except everybody there is making more than they're spending. So it's really not the same thing. Okay. When I go to meetings, when I have to go to events for any company, I'm paid. Right? My plane ticket's paid, my hotel's paid, I'm paid for my time. That never happens inside of the MLM space. So I feel like I was able to look at things from a logistical angle for the first time in 15 years. And that was really when I was like, oh gosh. And as somebody that I've been in for 15 years, and you know, I will say one of the most common things I hear is the only people that are anti-MLM are the people that never had success. I'm like, really? Because a lot of the ones I've listened to were like at the tippy top, right? Including myself. The past 4 companies I was with, I was in that magical top 1%. And guys, I was still earning very little money a majority of the time. I had a couple high months, but majority of the time I was still struggling. I was still not making insane amounts of money, right? Even as the top 1%. In the past 4 companies I've been in, I had large teams, I went on trips, I spoke on stages, I checked all of the metaphorical boxes in MLM, and I was still broke and still being controlled. So I feel like that alone speaks for itself, is that somebody that was at the top still really struggled. And if anything, I feel like I saw more than a lot of what the people that were below me or working with me saw, right? Because you start to gain that exposure to corporate and top leaders and things like that. I have to tell you guys, when I left the MLM space, I didn't really know how, like, what it was going to look like. I was like, am I going to talk about why I left? Am I just going to go about my own business? Like, what am I going to do? What I realized was there was a lot I did learn, right, that I could take outside of the MLM space, right? I learned how to be disciplined. I learned how to run my own schedule. I learned social media and branding and how to share a product. I learned sales. I learned, like, there were things that I learned, right? So I was able to leave there and I'm like, you know what can I do with this? I started my own business where now I do brand and social media marketing for small business owners. And I started doing like brand and affiliate sales with actual brands, guys, like Elf Skincare. You can get brands with them and it's not an MLM. Nobody has to join you ever again. It's the most freeing experience. And I'm not on Zoom calls all the time. I'm not wrapped up in spending my time and not being paid for my time. So it really shifted very fast for me. And I think one of the things I realized was we needed more voices out there sharing their life after MLM, because so many people are scared to walk away because they're like, oh, that's how I learned how to become an affiliate. That's how I got my friends. That is my community. That is my support system. And you can still have all of that outside of MLM. Guys, your real friends will still be your real friends, even if you're not at the same company. And these affiliate brands, sorry, mom life, these affiliate brands, they do offer you support and they do offer you all sorts of perks and things like that. So you're not out in the wilderness on your own. I think it's just a journey of rediscovering yourself and your strengths and what it is that you have to really offer companies, and honestly offer yourself. Like, there's nothing wrong with having a 9 to 5. And, I remember when I first got in years ago, when I was at Herbalife, one of our key phrases was that like part-time is the best time because you have a 9 to 5, you have steady income, and then you do this on the side. And somewhere between, I don't know, I would say 2012 to now we're in 2025, somewhere between that time, it shifted where it was like taboo to almost have a normal job. It's very strange. I don't know where that came into play. I don't know if that's always been in play and I just didn't realize it. But so many people need steady income, right? There's people that are putting their homes at risk. They're putting their lights at risk. They're putting their cars at risk because they're trying to put all their eggs in the MLM basket when 97% of you are never going to be able to earn enough to even pay a car note. So I think realistically, the 9 to 5 job, like that is what people need, and the stability. And I know that you're in Canada, Julie, I'm in the United States, but money's tight. Like, we cannot be living on a hope and prayer over here. Like, we have to know there's money coming in because everything has gone up expense wise. So, I mean, like I said, that's a super brief overview, but Julie, I guess I'll let you kind of pick my brain a little bit because I don't want to be too scattered.
So thank you so much for that overview. And it's not scattered at all. I took a couple of notes when you were talking, and I wanted to see what your thoughts are on a couple of these points, because I've seen this, I felt it myself when I left multi-level marketing, and I also encounter it from people that are, they don't like MLMs. They know it's fraud. They want to shut these things down. They don't want to support it. And yet they have this anger towards people that they start speaking out. So there's various levels of awareness about participating in these things. A lot of people, they don't know. They go in with good intentions. They want to learn. They love the community. And so when you had said something bad has to happen, something dramatic has to happen to wake you up. And this is something that I would like to see cult experts, talk more about. So this is just more out there, because on the outside, there's a section of people that think, well, of course, you're so selfish. You're selfish when you're in one of these scams, and now you're selfish getting out. Of course, something bad had to happen to you, something dramatic in order for you to exit. But that's the thing. It needs to jar you enough. And I remember grappling with this with myself as I was beginning to wake up from being in MLM and in that MLM coaching cult. I felt, oh, of course, I'm such a shitty, terrible person because I would beat myself up every day, because that's what we're taught in MLM. You need to always be working on a better version of yourself. And now, oh, this is just more evidence of that. So just even trying to extricate myself out of that, I was battling both of those things. So can you talk a little bit more about that topic? And it doesn't need to go into exactly what happened to you. It can, but I'd love to hear your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I think as somebody that was a top leader, you know, I think I will probably live with the guilt of the fact that I brought so many people in for years, right? So when I was leaving, I was also battling this guilt of like, I know I'm not going to be able to convince everybody to leave with me, right? Because they still have their blinders on. It took me 15 years to actually open my eyes. So I dealt with the guilt of that. I dealt with the guilt of they really have you convinced that like this is your family. Ugh, I hate that term. Like, this is your family. Guys, your family are the people that live under the same roof as you. Like, I'll just clear that up right now. Anybody that's telling you their family, sorry, you don't pay my bills, you don't go to bed next to me, goodbye, okay? So they do a very good job at guilt tripping you. It's like, this is your family. You've spoke on stage. We've helped you put food on the table. You earned this free trip. And it really has you questioning like, okay, so does me leaving also mean that I'm not grateful for the things that I did experience and the rewards I did reap from it? No, not necessarily. I'm still grateful for the people that decided to join me. I'm still grateful for the lessons I learned. I'm still grateful for the trips that I took. However, it was under this clouded judgment that now I see very clearly. So I think stepping away for me, I left Ariel end of October 2024, and it took me till May of 2025, middle of May. That's what, 6 months of going to other companies, grappling with my reality being shifted, wondering if this is a space for me, having that pitted feeling of like, people know me as the MLM person, right? Like, what am I going to do? How am I going to handle this? It was like a whole thing. So it's not like some people might wake up and God bless them, they just leave. Me, it was like a slow churn of like gathering information and like, what am I going to do when I leave? I am a stay-at-home mom. Like, what is next from here? So for me, I think what shook me was when I left that company end of October. I realized that everything I thought it was for the 2.5 years, it was not, right? Because I had final conversations with the CEOs. I had final conversations with people that I had been best friends with for years, who, by the way, I still miss dearly. And even though there's been stories told about me, there's been nasty things said about me, I've been threatened to be sued twice. I received cease and desist saying that they were going to retrieve my social media from me, that I didn't own the rights to them, that I'm not allowed to contact anybody at the company, like all this crazy hoopla. And I went, okay, so one of the things they argue is like, we were so hurt and she was at our kid's wedding and she did this and we gave her this and we did everything for her and this is how she treated us and we're so devastated. But in the same breath, you're threatening to sue me. You're threatening to take away the little bit of income I have left on my social media. So it's like, do you care about me or no? Which one is it? And I think that when the mask came off from the people running the show there, that was when I went, oh, wait a second. Right? All the people I thought that had my back were in this little circle, right? Trying to get me in trouble, saying bad things about me, being influenced by the top people there. It really brought to the forefront of like, wow, everybody is really being manipulated. Like, they're being controlled mentally to see me in a certain light. Like, this is what's crazy to me as I left that company. Guys, if you go back and you dig far enough, all these people are singing my praises. I'm a great leader. I'm a great human. I'm a great friend. Look what I did. Look how amazing I am. And then, right, like I leave, the switch has been flipped and now I'm a demon. I'm controlling people's minds. I'm manipulating them. Somebody literally told them that I had MK Ultra abilities. I shit you not, Julie. That was verbiage that came out of somebody's mouth. She has MK Ultra abilities because she worked for the government for 6 years, which I did, okay, in the American government. I worked through intelligence. But they even took my time as a veteran for my country, and they even weaponized that against me, guys. Like the most personal of things they took and they weaponized against me. And I started to realize this is what they did to a lot of leaders there. They would leave, and if they knew anything about their personal life, it was going to be put on display. They were going to mock them for it, use it against them, blackmail them, whatever it is it may be. And I started to just see the ugliness. So for me, it really took having my entire reality shifted and warped and like kind of being left with nothing. Like I was just like, holy cow, like what is happening? It took that dramatic of a shift for me to understand like something's not adding up. And still, even after that, I spent 6 months grappling with, do I want to stay in this space? Let me try other companies, because they all tell you like this company's different, this culture is different. And then guess what? I go to this company and there's upkeep and there's, you know, pay for this, pay for that. Like, and then I go to another company and there's mean girling. Like, it's just, no matter where I went, the same issues came up, maybe in different aspects, but like it was still the same, right? It was cut from the same cloth is what I will say. So for me, like I said, it took something dramatic and big for me, maybe because I was in for so long, maybe because I was a top leader. You know, nobody can tell me like, oh, you just didn't want to leave for the money. Well, I wasn't making any money for a very long time. So I promise you that's not what had me struggling with if I wanted to leave or not, because it was a couple $100 a month if I was lucky at that point in time. So I wasn't holding on to money. I was holding on to the reality that no longer existed. I was holding on to the friendships that had been damaged and lost. I was holding on to like this version of myself, right? They talk about like vision casting, vision boards, okay, all of that. Like my dream and how I saw myself was, I'm going to be the person on stage. I'm going to be speaking to thousands of people. I'm going to have this huge team. I'm going to be making 6 figures a month. I'm going to be traveling around the world. Like that was who I was striving to be for 15 years. So it was also kind of like letting go of that creation, right? That version of myself that I had been really striving towards for 15 years.
I think it's really striking how you're already discerning between or and then and keeping and. So when you're in a multi-level marketing company, it's like you're in or you're out. And when you're out, it's like the hyperbole amps up. You have to be evil. They have to other you. You need to be dehumanized. It happens. That's just what is part of it. And you mentioned like, you know, you were grateful for certain things, and you can tell when you're speaking about people, like you still care about the people. And that's the difference when you start to see what MLM really is when you can have the capacity to hold multiple conflicting feelings and perspectives at the same time.
Yeah. I mean, I still have friends that are at other companies. I have friends that were like one of my very, very dear friends. We were best friends for 2.5 years. I was at Ariel, who I literally still think about her and her husband and her kids on a almost daily basis. Like I have the urge to text her and check in and how are you? I thought of you today. I still have that, even though she's been turned against me and she's been told lies about me. And I, you know, as cheesy as it sounds, I still pray for her too. I'm like, you know, I hope one day, I hope we both live very long, fulfilling lives. And I hope that one day, someday, that like she comes back around and we can reconnect, because we were so close on a personal level outside of the business. But the problem with MLM is most of the time, no matter how close you are on a personal level, it almost never trumps the business. Almost never, because she has to choose, do I stay loyal to the company, right? And to the people that gave me XYZ, or do I choose this friendship? Because having both, it's almost like you can't have both in the MLM space, especially when it's somebody that had influence in that company, that had a say so in that company, that was at the top of that company. It wouldn't serve them for me to stay in a good light, because if I stayed in a good light and I left, then, well, what's wrong with them? What's wrong with that company? So I agree. You kind of get to this place where I think you go through the stages of grief, and you're mad and you're pissed off one day, and then you're sad and you're depressed the next day, and then you're empowered and you're ready to rock the next day. And you still deal with that on a daily basis. And like I said, I have friends, not just that woman I'm speaking of that's at Ariel, but at other companies that I love dearly. And yes, I'm going to speak on like my awakening in MLM and why I think more people need to move away from it. But I still have a capacity for sympathy and understanding because I spent 15 years of my life in there. So I get it because I was in the thick of it. So I agree. I think holding that space is important. And I think for anybody, even that's in the community of speaking out against MLM, I think that's an important note for our community and the work we're doing as well. Because guess what? If you're just constantly brash and harsh and criticizing, a lot of people aren't going to be willing to listen to you because all they hear is like mean girl mentality. They hear the way that they're painted, right? Of like, oh, you know, they're just speaking out and they're just angry. Whereas if you hold a space of compassion and sympathy and you can kind of navigate that throughout your conversations and your content, people are going to be more willing to listen to you and open up.
I also, excellent points. I wanted also, can I get your take on this? Because this is something that I've seen people really struggle with too. And because you were, you know, at the top 1%, I think this will help people understand. People believe that when you're in MLM and, you know, you're making all these ridiculous claims, you're behaving a certain way, and the way you're creating posts and all the mind fuckery that goes on, that it's a voluntary choice. Yeah. But what they don't understand is that you see a different reality. And I've used the example of like, I'm looking at like a purple elephant and I'm saying it's like a capybara. I'm like, no, it's a capybara. And I'm not like being purposefully deceitful. I'm not making it up. I'm not willing it. I'm not stubborn. I don't care about my reputation. I got to cling to this idea. Like I actually see a capybara, but it's a goddamn purple elephant. So then when I wake up, I'm like, oh my God, it's a purple elephant. Like I didn't actually see it. So that's been one of the ways I've tried to communicate with people,
Yeah.
but you're seeing a different reality. What are your thoughts on that?
I think one of the best examples I ever heard of this was from my girlfriend, Kelly. And she said the red flags look like normal flags when you're wearing rose-colored lenses. Because when you're colored, the rose, everything is pink, everything is red. It all appears that way. So it's all normal. And then you take it off and you're like, holy shit, it's a red flag. What's happening? So I think that's a really good way is to think of it as is your perspective is warped. Like when I was in the thick of MLM, I truly believed I was here to help people. I was here to serve people. I'm recruiting people to make a difference in their life. I'm selling people a product to make them feel better. Like I never acted out of ill intention, right? It was never to deceive anyone, manipulate anyone, or anything like that. It was from a very good place in my heart at the time. The problem was my view was skewed and I wasn't seeing things for what they are. And again, that kind of comes with what I said earlier was like, I deal with this guilt now that I'm out where I'm like, oh God, like I sold people this or I brought people into this. And you kind of have to give yourself some grace. But I also think this is why it's important when people do leave. I don't think people should leave silently. I don't know what it is about the MLM space. It's probably my biggest pet peeve is like they want you to leave and shut up. And I'm like, fuck you. I'm going to say what the hell I want, right? Like you don't have to leave and be silent because if people keep being silent, then nobody learns their lesson. Nobody understands and is able to shift out of like what they're seeing in the false reality. And then if you do speak up, you're a problem, you're a drama queen, you're trying to amp yourself up for your next business, XYZ, right? They paint you all these things versus I had a bad experience and I'm allowed to share that bad experience. And, you know, I shared this the other day with one of my friends. I said, you know, if I ordered a pizza from Domino's, okay, I don't know what you guys have in Canada, it's a pizza place here. If I order a pizza from Domino's and I get it and it tastes like shit and it's horrible, and I post on TikTok, I got this pizza, it tasted like shit. Do you know what would happen? That brand would come apologize to me. Domino's would be like, hey, Jen, we're really sorry about this inconvenience. How can we make your experience better? Can we give you a free pizza? What can we do for you? Like they would be trying to appease the customer and trying to correct the wrong, right? Versus MLM, if you complain about that pizza, you're crazy. You are insane. That pizza is made from Jesus himself and you better eat it because it's going to heal all your wounds. Like you're just like, what in the world is happening? Like you literally cannot leave without being painted a crazy person. And I've had friends that left and they spoke out and they literally made claims about their mental health. Well, she's dealing with mental health problems, so that's why she's saying that. I'm like, oh, my God, like, what do you mean? It's just absolutely ludicrous, the lies and the bullshit that will come out of their mouth to make you not listen to the other side. And in my opinion, listen to both. You can hear the sunshine and rainbows and you can hear the shit show and you can decide, like, is this worth it for me? Like, go ahead, listen to both. That's fine. But I think when you're fed the sugar-coated bullshit, like, how are you ever going to know that there's another side? How are you ever going to know the shit is under the glitter if nobody tells you to look there, right? So I think it's just insane to me how many people are silenced. And now companies use legal intimidation. That is like so common. It's like common practice and it's wild to me. I'm like, how are these companies not being sued for legal intimidation? You're sending cease and desist. You're threatening to control people's contacts. You're threatening to control their social media and take their social media. Like, you're threatening, but they never they never get in trouble for it. Like, it's so mind-blowing to me. And I think the reason they don't get in trouble is because they know that the people that left are broke and that they don't want to be able to go get a lawyer. They can't afford the lawyer. They can't afford to fight back. So it's funny because they talk about like freedom and making money, but at the same time, they're weaponizing the fact that they know 97% of us are fucking broke. Right. And that's why they can control you and control what you do and make the threats and get away with it, because they know that you don't have the money to fight them a lot of the time. So it's absolutely insane to me, this hush hush silence culture that has come out of MLM. And I hope more and more people realize that, like, if you do decide to speak out, like, there are people that will have your back and they will stand with you and they will stand inside of the uncomfortableness that it is to speak out against it.
Two things adding on to this where you mentioned, where you described this so well, is that when you're in a high control group, when you leave, and especially with MLM, since Amway, which actually the first one was Neutralite, and then it turns into Amway, and every MLM is the exact same. It's just spawned off of Amway, which is Neutralite. And they need to exercise control. And it's like the last grab at you to try to, the doctrine, the ideology that you're in MLM, you're supposed to behave a certain way. You have to be classy, not trashy. You can't burn your bridges. It's all these little, like, those thought terminating cliches that we just take in as these platitudes. You think, this is how I'm going to live my life. And then they say that when you leave, but it's like you're already out. It's like, this doesn't hold any power over me. You're trying to use this ridiculous control to silence me. And I'm calling this out. I'm pointing out that this is wrong. And isn't it funny how they still, like, all these years later, still using that kind, like, that legal intimidation? Before social media, so many people were silenced. So many people were actually sued. People still are being sued, but so many people were being just sued, threatened, intimidated. They just never got to say anything. And now with social media, there's just more and more people. They see somebody like you, they recognize you, they respect you. They might not like what you're saying, but yet they're watching your content, and you're making content now. You're making a lot of content in your stories. You are speaking out. Yeah. And so they see you, and they can't deny that some of the things you're saying are the truth. All of the things you're saying is the truth, but they're not there yet. They're only able to like allow themselves to agree with certain things, because accepting all of it would start things like falling apart. So now with social media and people speaking out, these companies don't have that grasp. With more, each time somebody points out, hey, this happened to me too. This is wrong. And how strong and empowering is it as somebody that was in multiple MLMs to say, no, this is my experience. I'm speaking out. You can't silence me. It's just just so bravo to you. Can you talk about what you're doing on Instagram, like how you're speaking out? You have a unique way of creating content, which we all do. And people, they don't know.
So I mean, for the most part, I speak in my stories is typically where I have it, and then I'll pin it so that people can go back and go through highlights. But right now, I'm not gonna lie, since I just left middle of May, I still have things that like come into my awareness where I'm like, whoa, reality shift. Like, it's like getting the pieces snapping back in one puzzle piece at a time. So as these things come to my awareness, I will go in my stories and I'll either speak or I'll write and I'll say, hey, like, here's what I realized today. Isn't this crazy? And people are just kind of following that journey because it's like, it's literally watching somebody leave a cult and then slowly wake up and gain awareness one puzzle piece at a time. So that's kind of what I'm doing on my social media is I'm sharing like these aha moments. And it's not just like, oh, she's hating on her past companies. Like I talk about all sorts of companies and crazy things that I see with various companies in the MLM space, the MLM space as a whole. Yes, some of it's about like specific companies I was with, but I speak out about all of it as it comes into my awareness, because I just think that's a very authentic way to go about it is like I'm starting to see things in a different light. Posts that I see, messages I receive, marketing tactics that I see from companies, claims that I see them make, all of it, right? Each day is like I see something new and I'm like, holy cow. So I just share that in my stories very openly with people. I've had so many people come to me personally and be like, hey, like, you can't share this yet, but I want you to know I'm watching you. And a lot of what you are saying is making sense and landing. I've had a lot of close friends that have since left since I started speaking out more in May. And one of my goals is not just to show people my journey of leaving and like having my awareness raised and seeing the red flags now, but I also want people to be empowered when they leave to know that like you can, when you step outside of the MLM bubble, like I call it a bubble for a reason because it's like MLM and then it's like every other job in existence in the world. And like once you step out of that bubble, you're like, whoa, there's a lot of possibility here. There's a lot of support here. There's a lot of avenues. There's a lot of self-discovery. And it can be scary, but it also can be empowering when you're in the right conversation with the right people that are kind of guiding you through it. And that is where my heart has taken me on this journey is like, yes, I'm going to speak out. And guys, sometimes I'm very blunt. Julie already knows I say fucking shit every other word sometimes when I'm really passionate and I'm just like, my bad. Little ears cover them.
That's
right?
why we get along. That's why we get along.
I'm like, so, you know, I share very openly and very bluntly, but I still hold space and sympathy and compassion. I try to help guide people outside of MLM and life after MLM more specifically.
I think it's really interesting how so many of us do that just naturally. We leave MLM and there's this natural urge to help others. That's, you know, that was such a component of being in these organizations, these companies. And then that's what we're doing outside. And it's just this natural thing. You just want to help people. Yeah. I know I've had Zoom calls with, it's not Zoom calls, StreamYard calls. I don't record it. Every once in a while, somebody just needs to be listened to. And that, and I do that. It's just, we just have to be there for each other. You know, you'd mentioned, I loved the phrase that you used of people that are afraid to leave multi-level marketing because they're going to be out in the wilderness. And that's another aspect of being involved in a high control group. Like you're in or you're out. There is no safe like sanctuary for you outside. Outside, you're going to be alone. You're going to be attacked. You're going to be vulnerable. And it's just, it's an illusion. It's that feeling that's been so carefully crafted. And then you get through so much conditioning and training and love bombing and busy work that you think outside of it, like what could possibly replace that? People even to some degree have this experience for stopping to use an MLM product. Never mind just being involved like in the business part. So when people are like, when you're talking about them leaving and then they're out in the wilderness, like feeling alone. Can you just talk more about your experience of feeling those feelings, what and how you're making sense of that?
Yeah, I think that is part of the reason I was pulled to start sharing online because I was like, I gotta find new friends. You know, like a lot of your friends are in the thick of it and it's hard to leave because you do feel a little bit alone at first. But here's what I'm going to tell you. As somebody I still stayed in the marketing space in general, right? Both with my own business I run and with brand marketing ship online. And guys, there's so much support out there. It's actually bizarre. You know, like I left MLM and I'm like, I'm all alone. Like out in the wilderness, the vultures are going to get me. Like, what do I do? To like, once I actually started exploring, it's like, oh, like there's actually communities out there for all sorts of things, not just sales. You could love gardening, you could love knitting, and there's support groups for that, right? There's communities for that. So you are going to find people You're going to find new people that don't have that ball and chain on them from MLM, that are going to be really refreshing and really invigorating and empowering for your experience of moving outside MLM. And guess what? You might have some friends that eventually shift outside of MLM with you. And that's really cool and empowering too, because now you have this little, we left MLM group. I have a little hub of people that like we share ideas and we share brand deals and we share stories and all this, like, haha, remember that one time we were in a cult? Like, like we have that too. But there's so much outside of it as well. Like I said, you can start your own business. You go back to a 9 to 5. You could find a new hobby. There are communities and support. There are companies that like brand affiliate companies that will offer you trips, that will offer you bonuses, that will give you free stuff. Like, guys, you get even more than you could ever imagine when you step outside of the MLM bubble. Because here's the thing, when it comes to MLM, their job is to keep you in this controlled environment. They want you to think it's the best of the best. But once you step outside of it, and you start to experience it with other brands and communities and these new developed friendships with this perspective, you really understand how much is outside of that bubble. That's like the best way I can describe it. It's been really empowering. I mean, for me, it's been middle of May. We're talking about like maybe 7-ish weeks right now, 6 or 7 weeks of me being out. And I'm still making new friends on a daily basis. I have people that are just, it's crazy because in MLM, they tell you like, we're going to train you, we're going to prepare you, we're going to make your mindset better, we do all these things for you. And since I was outside of the MLM, I'm like, do you know, I have people helping me that don't make any money off of me. Like, it's really crazy. You're like, wait a second. Like, they almost have you scared to believe that there's people out there that will be willing to help you that don't make money off of you. Like, there are good, sincere human beings that still exist on this planet, but you would never know it because MLM just has you so convinced that you can only have that support system here. So there is a support system that is there for you. There are people that can relate to your experience of leaving MLM, like me and Julie, that are always willing to listen. But then there's other people that aren't in the MLM that will support you and love on you and, help you grow into that new chapter. So don't be scared to step outside of it, because like I said, once you get outside that bubble, it's like a whole new world. You're like, wow, there's a lot to offer out there outside of this.
And I've talked about this before, is that I think if the MLM participants have a superpower, is getting out of their comfort zones. And that can be a tool for people when they leave MLM. It's like, lean into that. That's something that, is hammered into us. Go out of your comfort zone. Magic only happens here. You have the stupid chalkboard and the 2 circles. It's like where the magic happens, your comfort zone, and you have to make that leap. It's like, lean into that discomfort. Yeah. The same language, the same things that were used to keep, you in, all of us in, you can use that to help you figure out what you want to do. And it can be like those feelings of being like isolated and the grief, the stages, it's normal and it's healthy and it's okay. It's okay to feel conflicted. It's okay to regret. It's okay to celebrate. All of those you can feel all those feelings, so you don't need to label them as good and bad, positive and negative, feminine and masculine. You get to decide. And it can be really confusing because like, I have no idea what I feel about these things because I've just been spoon fed so much shit for maybe 15 years or maybe even longer. I've had friends that have been over in 25 years. And it's like, it takes time. I'm out about 3.5 years now. I still have stuff happen. When I have a conversation with you, messaging with you, it's like, I never thought of it that way. Well, I don't have any other questions. Do you have anything that you'd like to add?
No, I mean, I guess my last little message would be anybody that's watching this, questions are always welcome. Me and Julie are here to kind of help guide you through things. And it might seem scary at first, but, just dip your toe outside of the MLM line, if you will, and start to just venture out, because you'll be surprised how much is waiting for you outside of that little control bubble that we've been talking about here on this live today. So just go do it, guys. Rip the Band-Aid off. It's been a freeing experience for me. I'm really excited, honestly, for the next 6 months and to see what happens for me and my family and my business and my online space. Because one thing I didn't realize was, I know they never want you to believe this, but like MLM really is taboo. People really do look at your social media and say, ooh, MLM product, don't want to follow her, don't want to support her, she's going to try to recruit me. My sales have 10x since I left because I'm not selling MLM product. It's so wild. I'm like, man, I was literally talking about the same sort of product, but it had an MLM label, and people were like, nope. And you don't really realize that it's not because they hate you. People, you know, in the MLM space, they tell you like, if they love you and support you, they'll buy your MLM product or they'll join you. And it's just the biggest hogwash ever. It's just more guilt trip. And honestly, it's seen a lot in cults. Is what does it do? It separates you from that inner circle, your friends and family, because you're like, well, they didn't buy from me to help me get my rank this month, so they must not support me. And it really doesn't have anything to do with that. People have their own lives and their own things that are happening. It's not always about you. I know we hate to hear that, right? But there are so many things that shift when you leave the MLM space, and one of it is you'll have this like whole new network. You're like, oh man, this is crazy. Like, so many people are willing to talk to me and be friends with me and buy from me because it's not tied. There's no alternative motive as far as joining a company or joining a community. So let that be empowering to you, that there's like this whole new reality awaiting you.
Jen, thank you so much. And congratulations on getting out.
Thank you so much.